We can have a transformational impact in healthcare with some cutting-edge technology and innovative thinking, but it's a tough road ahead in this ever-evolving landscape. We've got stringent regulations and complex market dynamics that innovative startups and scale-ups need to overcome to achieve success. You need to know the right opportunities to approach at the right time. You need to be able to effectively communicate your value proposition and attract the right investments. And quite often, you need the right support to do all of that. With me today, I'm joined by Sarah-Jane Anker from Anker Alliance. And in this episode, we talk about real-life success stories showing how strategic partnerships can catapult healthcare startups to success, those unique perspectives that healthcare innovators need to succeed, and some practical tips on effectively communicating value propositions, securing investments, and building strong brand awareness. Collaboration starts with a conversation, Team HealthTech. Let's make it happen.
Welcome to Talking HealthTech, featuring content and community about technology and healthcare. We acknowledge the traditional owners of lands these conversations were recorded and pay respect to elders past and present.
Sarah-Jane Anker from Anker Alliance. Hey, Sarah, how you going?
Very well, thanks, Pete.
It's great to have you on the show. It's great to dive into, the needs of healthcare startups and scale-ups within this vast ecosystem and learn a little bit more about your background too. So firstly, set the scene. Tell us about you and what you do.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously delighted to be on the show, so thank you. I have a long career in medical devices and pharmaceuticals, starting out with companies like AstraZeneca, global giants launching Nexium and Crestor, working with Allergan in London, and also with Johnson & Johnson for a long tenure. So I've covered many specialties in both the medical device space and also the pharmaceutical space. I think I've covered every specialty except neuro, and obviously now more in diagnostics and things. So as a result of having a lot of experience, launching a lot of products, in fact, being world number one for quite a few blockbuster products globally, I have a lot of experience around executing into market and navigating the complex environment that is healthcare. And therefore, obviously, the consulting has eventuated, I guess, out of a bit of a side hustle of helping clients and friends, my network to I guess, execute their products into market and find strategic partners. So it's really around that. It's finding the right partners to help people accelerate growth and also find funding, support their PR and investor relations within the market as well.
Yeah, got you. I want to dive into that a little bit more in terms of some of those, the needs of those startups and scale-ups, particularly in healthcare, because, I guess if you weren't fully aware of I guess, what a consultant does, you might sometimes think, well, if it's a big organization, it's not like they're short of people, and it's not just a matter of, like, if they just need another person, they just hire someone within the business. So why would they go outside of the group to get some help? So help me understand a little bit more about, like, the role that I guess a consultant does with startups and scale-ups in the healthcare sector.
Yeah, what I find often is that the entrepreneurs are the creative side. So they've built something out of a need or a family member or something at the innovation side of it. And their ability to execute into market, they don't always have that knowledge in terms of navigating the complexity of, say, regulation. You've got TGA, you've got compliance, and also just the indications themselves. So it's about, understanding that environment. If you haven't actually gone out and sold the product and carried the bag, it's hard for you to be able to experience that. And I've done that many times in many companies and in many countries. And therefore, my ability to be able to replicate that is quite strong. And I think having that knowledge is paramount. You talk about human capital, but actually that's the most valuable, because you can have money and a bad idea and bad people, it goes nowhere. So we really need, in what most people want, is the human capital side. So we help them with not only finding the funding, but actually finding people that have either a passion or a skill set or can add value beyond just the funding itself to that particular startup or scale-up group.
Yeah, got you. I love to try and understand these things in by way of examples. So
Like, well, what are some of those examples of, I guess, the success stories or the way you've partnered with these organizations to help get them results?
Yeah, I work with one that recently is a anxiety, natural remedy for anxiety. Obviously, many people suffering mental health post-pandemic. And this is a great product. It's called Good Space Gum. And it's a great step before ever seeking, more medical related illness. If you require that, please do that. But this is a fantastic product for mild situational anxiety. And we really help them to find some strategic partners in terms of not only the funding, but actually someone that had a broad network within globally that could support them. I have another client at the moment who works in the nutraceutical space called CellLogic. So we're just supporting them to find them not only funding, but also partners that can really help them expand that growth. Other examples are in cancer space. So a client that has a remedy or treatment for treating cancer, end-stage cancer, through light therapy, photodynamic light therapy. So we're helping get partnerships in the way of big pharma. So often it can be that we are taking them to a bigger company. So, the likes of your blue chips, your Johnson & Johnson's, your Roche, these bigger guys, and that can help accelerate. Those strategic partnerships really help people to maximize resources. And therefore, when you're a smaller, innovative company, you can't necessarily afford that headcount and the big numbers of employees that you can get when you get to these big multinationals.
Yeah, I'd imagine too, if it was important to partner with some of those bigger, I guess, big pharma or a larger organization to perhaps help get your solution out at scale, or even just to be able to complete the picture of what you do. If you don't have those connections, that can be difficult. So being able to partner with people that kind of have done it before, then that makes a lot of sense. One thing I find too is that you kind of touched on this earlier. Actually, you can have a great idea, but if you're no good at telling people about it or communicating why it's a good idea, I found actually it results in entrepreneurs or CEOs getting frustrated. If anything, saying, "Oh, why don't people understand this?" If they just tried harder, like that's silly for them not to take this up. But I think a lot of that falls back on the organization or back on the group in being able to really clearly articulate their value proposition. So I imagine that comes up a fair bit for you too. And I think for those checking out this podcast, it'd be great to kind of unpack a little bit about how to better communicate your value proposition, and maybe through way of examples of the stuff you've done, or what's the best way that healthcare organizations can approach communicating their value proposition and to be able to do stuff like find investment or build brand awareness and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and it's really paramount to the success of it, not only from an investor relations side, so having that storytelling of your business and what your value offer is within the healthcare market and how it's innovating, but also what I find is entrepreneurs often the raising capital side or getting a resource side is actually selling. And if you're not a really strong salesperson, it can be very challenging for someone to pitch if they're not confident. So what we do at Anker Alliance is support that. We can help you with pitching. We can help you with, the positioning as well. Marketing side of things is very important. That's brand position and awareness. And those things are key. So I think that they're really the fundamentals to getting it up on the ground and getting that message out correctly in the marketplace and making sure it's positioned appropriately. But it also impacts the types of investors you're going for. So having that story out there and that framework, I think, is key to getting that correct investor. Is it a VC that you want? Is it grants? There's a lot of grants and incubators out there supporting the startup land. Or is it private equity? Or are you going to sort of fund this through bootstrapping and angel investing, which is different as well? And then you've got to continue to keep your revenue going in order to do that. So we sort of really look at strategically how to position in the marketplace, but also who are the best strategic partners for you with that business to help growth and acceleration.
Yeah, got you. Sounds like you work with a fairly vast suite of organizations solving different problems, and I guess there's no one better placed than a founder or the organization themselves to be able to understand like how their solution works and I guess the problem they solve. But I'm always curious about how you go about kind of unpack it, like learning what a solution does so that you can really kind of grasp, well, hey, these are the key things we should talk about, externally. And these are the things maybe we leave for a later conversation like that. And like to help organizations better understand how to be a better storyteller or how to really cut through some of that noise. What are some things you kind of might go through with each of your clients to be able to go like, okay, that's good to know, but these are the kind of the things that we're really kind of going to dive into?
Yeah, and I think it's all about that sort of brand and awareness and positioning. So most of the startups, obviously, I vet them to make sure, it's an appropriate business and in terms of its market fit. And is it something I can add value to? So taking on things I can add value. But we also bring in people that are experts in PR. So we can help you navigate what that PR needs to look like. How do you get your message out there? What budgets then have they got for marketing to do that? And often that comes through the funding side. So they're needing capital to be able to expand and grow. And then just about employing the right people. I think skill, and people are the most valuable part of the picture.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to showcase some of that talent too is probably going to be
and
important.
some of them are not necessarily healthcare for me. I've had some things outside of that, but only where I have expertise. But yeah, obviously my passion is healthcare. So are we making an impact in the environment? Is this something that the world needs? Is it solving a problem? Like you have to make sure that positioning is really clear. Or is this just a lifestyle hobby thing for, every entrepreneur thinks their business is fabulous, like everyone thinks their child is fabulous. So it's sort of trying to get that message across and I guess, also work with some of the challenges you're going to have in the marketplace for any business.
Yeah, being able to separate yourself from that a little bit to be able to get those key points out seems pretty critical. I guess in this current climate, healthcare, it's a tricky landscape. There are challenges. Where are you seeing the biggest challenges that healthcare organizations, those startups and scale-ups are facing right now?
Yeah, I think it's regulations getting tighter and tougher. I think it needs, it always needs to be there, but it's a complex environment to navigate with TGA and other things. I think obviously post-COVID, the world has changed rapidly. I think that innovation is moving very quickly and for people to keep up. And I don't necessarily think that the structures of healthcare have moved that quickly in terms of the managing of it, digitizing the processes and things have been slow uptake. So I think those are some of the hurdles we face with. But I think, it's a really exciting time to be alive, and the technology that's coming and AI and things that are going to be here to support us are going to make this so much more accessible. It's definitely having the right support and the right people that can guide you through that. And that's why we help consult with them.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. And you need that those different partnerships and the alliances and things to be able to make those happen. So I'm talking particularly in a more regulated space, be it MedTech or when you're creating a solution. I find that's the area of healthcare that probably people keep quite close to their chest, and they'll be in stealth mode for a long time and kind of prefer not to speak to people about what they're building until they're ready. And I get it. That's important from an IP protection point of view and also making sure that they've got that market advantage. But sometimes it's a bit of a trade-off if you're not open to partnerships and alliances and kind of growing together as an ecosystem. That can be a challenge. I guess for clarity or to help those, organizations that are thinking about whether they really need to lean into building some of those strategic partnerships, what are some of the most important reasons why building those alliances are going to be critical in the success of their business?
I would say it's about expanding market growth. So it's easier we call it slipstreaming. It's easier to slipstream behind someone and excel and go with them and travel with them rather than trying to pave the way ahead yourself. So it might be about a product that wants to expand into a new growth market and that company is already excelling in there. They have the resources, they might have the team, and therefore you can go and obviously, assuming that the partnership is protected, the IP is protected, we check all that, then those partnerships actually create what is a win-win essentially for both teams, because often large companies are looking for innovation as well. So they're really looking for that incubation. They're not inventing it all themselves. You'd be companies like Johnson & Johnson, they go out and look for innovation. They have an innovation hub. And so I think those things, it's exciting for startups to be able to do that. It's how do you then find the most appropriate company and fit? And that's what I really understand and know. It's also saving money because you're saving on resources. So you're able to then execute into market quickly without having to acquire all those resources yourself. So savings, cost savings, faster growth, and, just I think generally the ability to expand globally.
Yeah. No, those are all tick boxes for me, for sure. I guess you've got your eye on what's happening across the ecosystem, and you have kind of outlined already that, it's fast moving and things are changing, which is an exciting prospect for the future of this space. Where are you seeing the biggest opportunities? What should we be keeping an eye on over the, in the short term and long term in this landscape to really take advantage of it?
I think, it's an exciting time, particularly with AI and technology moving into healthcare. Obviously, that has its own complexities with regulation, but I think it's a fantastic thing for the future. I think that diagnostics is a huge area. I mean, it's about prevention now. We're detecting earlier. If we can detect earlier, we can treat earlier. And people are moving to more of a wellness and longevity rather than a treating sickness all the time. So rather than a reactive treatment, it's about proactive. What inventions can we create or innovations to actually proactively create better wellness and better vitality for people? I think that's the space it's moving to.
Yeah, amazing. Look, Sarah-Jane, I've really enjoyed kind of diving into what's happening in this evolving landscape and the importance of those partnerships and those alliances. So I really appreciate you making the time to come and have a chat on the show. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Pete. It's been a pleasure. I love seeing your business grow. Thank you very much for having me.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Talking HealthTech. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this episode with someone who might find it valuable. For more information and resources about healthcare innovation, visit talkinghealthtech.com.